Hey guys, this is Camfrey15, joined by my Uncle Daryl, like always, and then one of my cousins, DJ. My other co-host, Matt, couldn't make it because he has work and stuff like that. Obviously, we're just now making this video the day of the NBA Finals, because it was the only day we could find it, and I'm also working because I have a new coaching job. But yes, the NBA Finals are set. It's the Phoenix Suns, which shouldn't be in there in the first place, and the Milwaukee Bucks. So yeah, I guess the first thing we can talk about before we get into the finals is talk about the the Conference Finals matchups. So the first one was obviously the Bucks versus the surprising Atlanta Hawks. For the Hawks' credit, I thought they battled as hard they could. It looked like Giannis could have been the, I guess, dagger in them, but essentially when Milwaukee went back home and took control, they just beat them down, and then Milwaukee just finally got over the hump that has been eluding them for so long.
For sure.
Definitely happy for Milwaukee, but in terms of the Hawks, I thought they had a pretty surprising playoff run. I would have never thought that they would have made it to the conference finals, but credit to them. I don't know if they'll get back to this point because obviously teams in the East are going to get better. You're going to have a full, healthy Brooklyn Nets team. I don't know what the 76ers are going to do because right now they're in disarray. Depending what Boston does, who knows? And then obviously you're going to have Milwaukee again, but they might get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know, but probably not.
Obviously, congratulations to the Atlanta Hawks on an amazing season. They just did re-up Nate McMillan for 4 years.
Yep, I saw that.
I thought that was pretty cool. But they got a lot of work to do if they want to get back there again. So, completely healthy, they are really good. They got to figure out what they're going to do with John Collins' contract. So once they work that out, I think Atlanta will be really nice. I can see them they'll probably need another piece. Hopefully another wing defender, because that's what really killed them in the series against the Bucks. They couldn't find anybody to consistently stop Middleton. And when Middleton went on a roll, Kevin Huerter and Bogdanovich, who actually seemed to recover a little bit from his the knee that he injured against Philadelphia, but they really couldn't do anything with Milwaukee after that point. So I can see them, in addition to signing Collins, try to find a wing defender that can keep that from happening. But other than that, it was a great year for the Atlanta Hawks. Kudos.
For sure. With the Atlanta Hawks, I think they, out of every team in the conference finals had the most impressive run of the playoffs to me, because I kind of felt like they were going to just run through New York, because New York didn't have Julius Randle. That's another thing. Oh, you can have a whole episode how he messed the playoffs up. But run through New York, but when they got to the Sixers, though, that was really impressive, and I feel like they could have probably won if Trae Young would have went down, because when Trae Young went down, the ankles really bothered him. But all in all, I think the Hawks had a great run, the way that Trae Young was moving the ball and finding his shooters and finding his own shot as well, and then finding John Collins down the deep. I think he was the X factor for real, John Collins. So, I feel like only thing about the Hawks that bothered me was, I think, like you said, a wing defender. Because like when it comes to Middleton and sometimes Giannis, when he was coming off the wing, they couldn't stop him. Yeah, that's much what it was, to be honest with
you. Yeah. But again, credit to the Hawks. They had a nice run. Hopefully they come back stronger. Obviously, I think they also might need another maybe star piece aside of Trae Young, because they have a lot of complementary pieces. I feel like if they maybe had another star piece, aka for like, I guess, the Clippers case, to keep them alive long enough to maybe get, but we'll see what they do in the offseason. And for the Western Conference Finals, this went 6 games. And the Clippers fell to the Suns, which I'm very sad about. But at the same time, I'm actually not too sad, but I'm happy. But regardless, whatever is going on there, it is what it is. The only thing that sucks is Kawhi did not play one single game this series. And
That's what I said.
I think we could all say without, I guess, the way the Clippers played the Suns is that if Kawhi plays in this series is over, and maybe, honestly, I have a hot take. The Suns get swept. With the way the Clippers were playing hard, I really feel like if not 4 or 5 games, the Suns probably get one. But anyways, that series, I enjoyed the series up until the end. Because Chris Paul just went off and it was like, oh great. You can never do it for us. But credit to the Clippers. I'll be making a video recapping their entirety of their season and stuff like that. So I was very impressed with what I saw. Ty Lue, even though are very critical his entire playoff run with lineups and stuff like that, at the end of the day, he was good for us, and I was very impressed. Players like Reggie Jackson impressed me because I remember last year I was screaming to take this guy out in the bubble. Nicholas Batum, nice complimentary piece. Terrence Mann, he obviously was sold for a guy that I feel like the Clippers should not trade. And then Paul George, he stepped it up when Kawhi went down at the end of the day. And if people are going to slander Paul George because of, I guess, the way it went out, you can go check up the statistics. This guy led the playoffs, but from the time Kawhi Leonard went down in minutes, all this crazy statistical stuff, and he did the best he could to keep the Clippers in the series. But eventually, you could tell that fatigue eventually, especially in Game 6, happened. The only problem Game 6 is I felt like the Clippers had a chance in that game when they cut it to 7, and then Chris Paul just went literally ballistic from the field. And it started with, for some dumb reason, the Clippers playing his own defense and leaving him wide open. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And after that, it was kind of that. But the Clippers, I would say, unless I guess if you're a petty Lakers fan, most of the people I've interacted in Clippers Nation said they're actually pretty happy with the way the season ended, even though it still sucks at the end of the day we didn't get to where we really wanted to go. But honestly, I'm kind of content. I wasn't too upset like I was, say, a year ago after the bubble. I'm actually a little sad that we're out, but honestly, it's something where I can look and like, this is something we can build on. We just got to get healthy at the right time. So yeah, but that's kind of my things. Again, I'll be making a side video about the Clippers. So yeah, that's it. But you guys' thoughts on that series?
The Clippers, for me, I know how we started out with the Clippers, and I gotta admit, I was really highly impressed, and I honestly thought that, barring injury, they should be in the NBA Finals right now. The problem for me with the Clippers is basically just one player and one player only, Kawhi Leonard. I mean, since he left San Antonio, he hasn't played. I think he's only played 60 regular season games once.
Yep.
Once. So, and after this season, next year he's up for he has a player option for I think $36-37 million or something of that nature, and it's questionable if he's going to accept it or not and come back for a final season with the Clippers. That befuddles the mind for me because, one, you would actually expect another team to take on a player who has a history of injury the way you do. So I would probably say take that off him and come back nice and healthy. Because he has, to me, Kawhi Leonard has a lot to prove. Paul George has nothing to prove. Paul George got them 2 victories in that Western Conference Final. That tells me everything I need to know about where Paul George was as far as his mindset to get the Clippers into the championship round. If Paul George can get you 2 games, Kawhi Leonard can get you the other 2. It was just that simple. He just wasn't there for another injury-riddled year. So, granted, to me, that's the issue with the Clippers. I don't think the Clippers has any other issue in my mind. Tyronn Lue proved that he can, that he wasn't all about LeBron James. And I got to admit, I really got on you about Tyronn Lue. You got on me about Doc Rivers. And I got to admit, you were absolutely right. Tyronn Lue can coach.
Tyronn
Lue. He showed that he could adjust. He was down 2-0 against Dallas. He was down 2-0 against Utah. He coached them up. They won both of those series. Kawhi goes down, and he coached them up to get 2 games against the Phoenix Suns. Under other circumstances, I think Doc Rivers would have got swept, to tell you honestly. So the Clippers, the only issue for the Clippers is Kawhi Leonard. There's no other issue whatsoever. Even if he accepts the player option for next season, he's still a question for me because to me, he has got to be available. Your best ability is availability. And for right now, Kawhi Leonard hasn't done that in 4 years. And he got a chip out of it. But he hobbled through that championship too.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi Leonard is the question for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think he wants to sit out most of the well, not most of it, but like a good percentage of the regular season just so he can be healthy for the playoffs. But I think sometimes that probably factor into your injuries as well. Because maybe if you're too rested, then something can happen like that too. Because that happened to me before. I tried to rest too much and then got back on the court and then sprained my ankle. So, I mean, it goes like that sometimes. So it's kind of tricky to judge it. So I agree with you. Like, I think he got to be available at all times for the Clippers to actually get to that next level. Because with Kawhi, they are dangerous with Kawhi. And like Cam said, with Kawhi, I think with Kawhi they could have got 2 games. I don't think they would just ran over them if they had Kawhi. But I would say I think
with Kawhi, it would have been in 6 games. It would just the Clippers would have won those games.
That's what I'm saying. I think the Suns would have got at least 2 out of that. Because I mean,
in that game seven for me, and I'm sorry to mean to cut you off. In that game 7, you need your best guy. You need your best guy in that fourth quarter.
You're gonna hit big.
The way, and I keep going back to our championship years with the Bulls, as great as Michael Jordan was, Phil Jackson knew he had to have the other guys play their tails off for those first 3 quarters. They're like, listen, y'all can get to the fourth quarter. We will hand it over to him.
And he gonna take over.
Hand it over to him, and everything is good. We don't have to worry as long as we can get to the fourth quarter. Now, obviously, there were some years in which, fourth quarter wasn't really needed. But there are certain games in which you have to have your best guy available and 100% ready to go for that game 7. And unfortunately, again, Kawhi is not there again. So, again, to me, Kawhi Leonard is the issue. I don't know if it's a locker room or anything like that. I doubt it because, again, it's an injury. But again, it's like sometimes when a guy keeps getting injured, you look at him at the side of your eye, and you'll be like, dude, what are you doing in the off season to not show up when we need you during the season? Same thing going on in LA with Anthony Davis. Dude, what you doing in the off season, man? I'm pretty sure somebody looking at him sideways, wondering what he's doing. So again, to me, Kawhi Leonard is the issue moving forward with the Clippers. Whether they get him to do what they need him to do or what have you, but he is the issue.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I really didn't have no nothing else to say about the series. But to be honest with you, I still think the Clippers still could have won that series without Kawhi though, because it was some like certain points in the games, like game 2, that when Paul George missed those key free throws, they could have won that game. I think
we texted right after that night too.
Like I was like, because when he missed the first one, I was like, all right, he ain't gonna miss the second one. Then he missed the second one, I was like, dang. Then he did it again. Like what, game 4?
Yeah.
So I feel like they still could have won without Kawhi. It's just little small details that probably wouldn't have happened if Kawhi was in the game. So
Yeah, they had to play. They essentially had to play dang nearly perfect. Like
yeah, for sure.
there was nothing else they could do. In terms of the Clippers, the Kawhi stuff. Look, I obviously figure he's gonna probably opt out, but after the way we went out, I'm 100% he's gonna resign because I don't know where else he would resign. Even though the Mavs have interest and the Heat have interest, I'm led to believe, unless something shockingly, I wouldn't believe he would go sign with a team he's beaten twice in the first round. Why would he go to a team that, even though they made the finals in the bubble, we saw what happened to them earlier this playoff run? They got swept. So, yeah.
I can't see him going back to the East.
Yeah.
I can't see him going back to the East.
No.
Even though for years now, the West has always been the more wide open style of play. It's more finesse basketball that they play in the West, whereas in the East, especially during playoff time, it does become a little bit more half court, a little bit more rugged, a little bit more physical. So with Kawhi's injury history, I can't really see him going to the East, especially a team who actually embodies that in the Miami Heat. So I can't really see him doing that, especially with his injury history. I think his only option is to just go ahead and take that player option at 36, 37 million and play his ass off to get that contract.
Yep.
That's what I think he should do. But again, you know, who knows, man, with a cat like this.
I think he's gonna opt out. I wouldn't mind whatever he does as long as he just re-signs the Clippers. I feel like he's gonna be a Clipper for the rest of his career, regardless, whatever he does.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. Also, the Clippers, in terms of other stuff, they also have other contracts to worry about, like the Nicholas Batum and the Reggie Jackson contracts, because they were both on minimum deals and played their money what they got paid. So the only other thing the Clippers could do, because right now we're not in cap space. We're tied up with cap space.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now on Hoops Hype, and I see that they are currently 34 million over next year's cap.
Yeah.
Next year's cap is at 112. There are some reports that it's going to be as low as 109 for next year. And right now, the Clippers roster is currently at 146 million for next season. But that's inclusive of Kawhi accepting his player option of 36 million. And Serge Ibaka has a player option as well for 9 million. Since he got hurt, you got to think he's going to accept that. So, but Patterson, Batum, now it says Reggie Jackson here is a free agent. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. But I think the way the NBA contracts is set up is you can go over the cap into the luxury
tax
to re-sign your own free agent. So I'm pretty sure Reggie Jackson is high on their list because he balled out for the playoffs. And I see why. He was on the last year of the deal. So he obviously wanted that contract as well, too. And since he actually proved his worth after Kawhi going down, I would think the Clippers, as well as anybody else, would be willing to sign him.
Yeah, I think ways to shorten that is definitely the Clippers probably trading guys away. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't mind trading some guys away. Like, you can look at Patrick Beverley. He's obviously in the final year of his deal. He's going to get paid tons of money. Maybe from what he did at the end of Game 6 could potentially get him traded, because I've been saying everything that's been anything old Clippers, from whether it's Lob City or 2018, 2019 Clippers when they took on the Warriors, you look at Doc Rivers. He was essentially Lob City up to last year's Clippers. Gone. Luke Williams, gone. Trez, gone. Correct. Who says Bev could be next? And they could say, but at the same time, the Clippers can say, well, he helped us defensively in the Utah and the Phoenix series by at least shutting down, or well, not shutting down, but slowing down what Mitchell and Booker particularly did. So maybe they say, we'll have one more year, because then they can just let him walk. I envision they might trade Zoo, but because Zoo's kind of on and off with me as a player, They could trade Kennard because they recently gave him a huge deal. They might trade Morris. It's up to what the front office could do because they're tied up in money and they got
Mm.
ways to create the space. So some guys, the roster could be definitely very much different if they want to bring back, I guess, Reggie and Batum on pretty solid deals.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. I'll explain more about the Clippers in my own personal video about that. I just have to find time in my schedule to do that with all the other anime stuff and then the freaking football stuff I'm doing, coaching. That's it. But anyways, let's move on to the NBA Finals matchup. And the one thing I would say is if you had told me it's Bucks versus Suns, I guess around this time last year, I probably would have not believed it. I would have thought, oh, it's probably me Nets and one of the LA teams. But yeah, it's Suns versus Bucks. Both teams got there very interestingly. The Suns, I would say, even though you're supposed to play the teams in front of you, I would say got probably another, I guess, the second Western team in a row that got probably an easiest path to the championship.
Mm.
And that's essentially playing all their teams hobbled or if not injured. In other words, Suns first round played an injury hobbled Lakers team with LeBron and Anthony Davis, then a Jamal Murray-less Denver Nuggets team, and then a Clippers team with no Kawhi. Now, regardless how you feel about that Clippers series, I still feel like the Clippers pushed them 6 games, and that, again, to me, shows me they didn't really play much of anybody. In terms of the Bucks, they swept the Heat. They had a very tough, hard-fought series, but again, just with the Suns, you can say, well, Nets injuries derailed the Nets from beating the Bucks, and then and they took a pretty tough 6 games, which looked like when Giannis went down, it would be like, okay, series is over. Hawks are going to the finals, and we're getting Suns versus Hawks. But the Hawks for the longest time, I mean, not the Hawks, the Bucks for the longest time were one of those teams where if they get to the conference finals, can they overcome the hump? And this year they managed to do it in the response that Giannis went down. Now, as of this video, which is game 1 of the finals, Giannis has been upgraded from doubtful to questionable. And that was going to be probably the most talking point is Giannis's injury. Well, I still think it's a pretty big talking point is how hurt really is Giannis and what percentage is he at. I think he probably would have to be 60% Giannis. But
Yeah,
we'll see if he plays tonight. I don't think he would play tonight because even though it's been a few days, it's still pretty quick of a turnaround. Like it's a week later after he got hurt and he hyperextended that knee. So we'll see if he plays. But obviously that's going to be the one thing that's going to be like, well, is the Bucks going to have Giannis and what level he's going to be playing at? And if he does play at, I guess, that all-star caliber level, the one thing I will say is, I guess other than Jay Crowder, I don't see anybody else on the Suns that could potentially defend him pretty well. So this would be a series that if Giannis, again, like I said, barring injury, can play like at least at his all-star caliber self, maybe. I have Bucks in 6. Obviously, that's going to be if the Bucks can take 1 game on the road. Another thing the Bucks need to have show up is the fact that Chris Middleton, he's going to have to play as good as he did the last 2 games in that Hawks series. If he does that and takes a load off of Giannis's shoulders, especially with him playing essentially hobbled into this series, I think that gives the Bucks a better chance. And then another huge thing for a point of emphasis in terms of the Bucks, I feel like Brook Lopez has to win his matchup with DeAndre Ayton. If Ayton now in the Clippers series, I feel like DeAndre Ayton did his least damage than in the Nuggets and the Lakers series. Because I feel like if you can stall DeAndre Ayton long enough and you won't make him have as huge as an impact, then you have a good chance to beat the Suns team because it seems like Chris Paul has one really good game where he looks like prime Chris Paul from the past. He had that in the Lakers series at least. He had the game in the Denver series in that closeout, and then had the game of his life in that closeout game against the Clippers. Devin Booker, he'll drop 30 points or more, but again, in the Clippers series, it didn't lead me to believe like, oh, I'm not gonna say this Suns team isn't good. I think they're a very good, complete team. Um, the thing is, I just feel like the Suns, they're just not. They don't have what the Bucks have. I feel like the Bucks have a little bit more firepower on them, but that's just me. So, yeah.
Um, if Giannis is 100% healthy, Bucks win this in 6. There is nobody on that team that is physically able to consistently stay in front of that man when he wants to get to the basket. Now, Middleton, on the other hand, we talked about wing defenders that Atlanta didn't have. The Suns have a plethora of them. So Middleton can be canceled out. The question is, can they cancel Drew Holiday while canceling out Middleton?
That is true.
Chris Paul is a good team defender. He's not a great one-on-one defender. So he'll give his best at the age of 36 years old. But it's rarely likely that if Drew Holiday is in front of him, that Chris Paul can stay in front of him. So, but since we are at a series where Giannis is not there, and I got it, man, I'm sorry. I think they're throwing caution into the wind. Honestly, I really just don't expect to see Giannis this series. I really don't. I think that knee is hurt a little bit more than what they're giving credit for. I've seen hyperextensions before, and yeah, they're painful, but he showed a heck of a lot of pain.
Yeah, he did.
Hyperextension. So typically a hyperextension is something where the knee just stretches the way it stretches abnormally, but you can come back within a week from a hyperextension. So I just think he's hurt a little bit more than what they let him know. So I don't expect to see Giannis, and considering that, I'm gonna say Suns in 6. So
So you don't think he's gonna play this whole series?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. I think it's gonna be the same thing like Kevin Durant when his so-called calf injury. I'm sorry.
You talking about when GSW played the Raptors?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the same thing. They're gonna wonder, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? If he's not back by game 3, he ain't playing.
Okay.
I would agree to that. I would agree to that.
He ain't playing. So, and if the Bucks get a game while in Phoenix, then the likelihood of him coming back is decreased. So as long as the Bucks can get a game without him, he won't come back. But if they go on to Milwaukee, if the Bucks come home down 2-0 and he does not play, he ain't coming back. I just wouldn't expect it. And that's just my feeling about it. So right now, as it stands, I'm gonna say Suns in 6.
All right. Well, like you said, if the Bucks, I feel like even if the Bucks play like 100% healthy, I feel like it could still go either way. I know that the Suns have been very lucky throughout these playoffs. I will say that they have been very lucky, but I wouldn't say that. I would still say that they're playing very good basketball.
You can't blame them for the hand that being up. Now it's not their problem.
Oh yeah,
that you're not coming in and you still got to go.
They played the Nuggets and the Nuggets didn't have Jamal Murray. They still swept them. It's like even with Jamal Murray, the Nuggets probably would got 2 games maybe.
Yeah, Nuggets is good and Murray is good enough to get 2 games, but they swept the Nuggets. So I mean, they would have beat the Nuggets anyway.
Yeah, for sure. But now Lakers, that's a different story. All right, so they can go either way too. But the Suns, I feel like in this series, I think it works in the Suns' favor because I feel like, one, you gotta experience Chris Paul. You can't get about Devin Book because Devin Book been balling, and when he on. He has been a little sketchy in the last series. Like he been having spurts of good games, then he'll just kind of fall behind the shadow of Chris Paul sometimes. But they still got I don't know, because Brook Lopez, for one, I think he's a great defender, but I think if they are running that pick and roll, sometimes it's hard for the Bucks to defend the pick and roll sometimes because they'll over like commit sometimes, and then sometimes they'll fall back too much, and then I feel like it all depends on how efficient the Suns can be, and if the Suns are efficient, I say Suns in 7. But if the Bucks are like the Bucks don't have Giannis, then probably be Suns in like I said, Suns in 6, maybe Suns in 5. But I feel like if Giannis is playing 100% healthy, I think it can go either way. You know, I think it's gonna be either way, Bucks 7 or Suns 7. But I'm going with the Suns on this one. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting series to watch. I'm definitely, if I can catch them, because I know by the time the game starts, I'm coaching. But I'll see if I can catch them. There's no guarantees, but I think this is going to be a pretty good series. Either or, two teams that haven't won a championship, or if not for the Suns, haven't won a championship at all. But the Bucks, they haven't won a championship since, I think, 1974.
71?
It's like I thought
since Jabbar.
Yeah.
Since Jabbar was called Alcindor. I think that was 71.
Oh, it might have been 71 then.
Might have been 71.
Yeah, around that. I think that was when Kareem was still on them.
Say again?
Was that when Kareem was still on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Lakers won in 72, and I want to say Kareem was on that team because that's that. I want to say no. Was that? No, that was Will. I forgot. Will left the Sixers to go to the Lakers, and that was the team. Kareem didn't come with them until after Will left the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the last Bucks championship was 71. I could be wrong, but I think it's 71.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a very entertaining series. I had Bucks, but obviously my two counterparts had Suns. But we'll see.
I want to see Giannis.
I ain't gonna lie. I want to see
Giannis.
Yeah. No, I'm a big.
First of all, this is gonna be probably the lowest rated NBA finals in NBA history. The only people that's gonna watch this is you, me, DJ, the people in Milwaukee, and the people in Phoenix. The rest of the country won't give two craps about this series.
I mean, you got some people that's root for CP3 too, so
that's fine. But that's his folks in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that, we're Chicago fans, and I can tell you right now, the only reason why I'm actually getting up to watch the NBA Finals is, I'm gonna be up anyway doing homework, so I might as well turn it on. But other than that, it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Whoever wins, it's not like it's a big deal. So I honestly think that the NBA is gonna look long and hard about making sure that their true superstars are in these games. So they're probably gonna have Kawhi Leonard on the phone, be like, dude, you need to get your tail in gear, Jack. Anthony Davis, get your tail in gear. Y'all need to step it up. We need to get a superstar in the East. Joel Embiid, get your tail in gear. Because we got to drive these ratings for these games.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody else wants to make a quick point, I know in my thing on our Zoom room, we only have like a few seconds left, but because the room's going to cancel out.
No worries. I'm good.
I think that's it. So anyways, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this series. And we'll see you guys next time. I guess the next video is probably going to be talking NFL football. Other than that, that's just it. So
I'm re-upping my package.
Anyways, we'll get out of here. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. And so till then, guys, stay safe out there and have a great day. Peace.